Hi guys, today we are going to learn database approach in ASP.NET Core. So let's start the things. So as we know that in our ASP.NET Core, to implement database first approach, we will implement it differently compared to like what we do it in our ASP.NET MVC. So I'm using Visual Studio 2019 here. So the example which I'm going to show here is going to be same for MVC 6 and 7 too. Okay. So if you see this, I'm going to select ASP.NET Core Web App project, okay, which is going to have like model view controller template. So just choose this one and just go for click next. Now here you can give the project name. So I'm just going to give the project name as database first approach, okay, in core. So this is a name which I want to give it. So I'm just going to say like next, and we are going to go for next, that is creating our project. So first task, create an MVC template project in our ASP.NET Core. Okay, now until the project is created for us, we can discuss like what is required for a database first approach. So for database first approach, we required database, right? We should have existing database, we should have existing table. So if you have existing database, existing table, then based on that existing table, the model class and context classes is going to be created for us, right? If you have data, if you're using like tables, so what is the main aim you are going to go for it? The main aim of using database first approach is to create model class and context classes, and that you don't want to create it, it is going to be created automatically for you if you're going to use database first approach. Okay, so first thing, in our solution explorer, you can see that we just have only controller folder which is empty, model folder empty, okay, and your views folder also empty. So these are the things which you will find it here. So let me open this solution explorer. Okay, yeah, it's now open for me. Now first thing, you need to go to the dependencies and you need to install some packages. So just go for manage NuGet packages. In that, just go to the browse. So as you're going to use Entity Framework Core, because you're working on ASP.NET Core, right? So for this, you need to install some packages. So first package which you need to install is Entity Framework Core. Okay, Entity Framework Core, you need to install it, not Entity Framework. Okay, you need to install Entity Framework Core. Let's take this first option and just install this first. Now, as I'm working on 5, okay, so let me go for 5.02 package. Okay, I will choose this 5.02. So first install Microsoft.Entity Framework Core 5. Go for OK, go for I accept. So this is first thing which you need to do it. Okay. Now after installing that one, the next package which you need to install. So this is installed for us, and you can see this. You got like right mark uninstall button also came, right? Now after that you need to install SQL Server. Okay, SQL Server, you need to install it. So just select this, go for MVC Core 5.02. Okay, now go for installation for this. So the package is going to be installed for us. So first you need to install Microsoft.EntityFramworkCore. Second is Microsoft.EntityFramworkCore.SQL Server. I accept. Yeah, two packages you have installed it. Okay. Now if you go and just see the dependencies, inside the dependencies you will get like some packages that EntityFramworkCore and EntityFramworkCore.SQL Server you have installed. The last and final package which you need to install is tools. So that also you choose as a 5.02. Okay, that you need to choose it. So go for this and then go for installing this. Okay. Now go for, if you see this, when you install tools, design also will be installed for you. So just go for okay, go for it, go for accept. Okay. So have you understood like three packages which we need to install it? Yeah. Let's repeat it. What are the three packages we need to install? We need to install EntityFramwork.core, EntityFramworkCore.SQL Server, EntityFramworkCore.tools. These three packages we need to install. Done. Now, what is the next task which we need to do it? The next task we need to do is you just need to go to your tools. Okay. In the tools, you need to go for NuGet Package Manager. In that, go to Package Manager console. That's what you need to go for it. Okay. So here you're going to type some commands. So what that command which you're going to type it here, you're going to say like scaffold, okay, and hyphen db context, which you're going to write it. Okay. So you're saying that I want to generate like db context. And scaffolding, you remember, right? If scaffolding will help you to generate view pages, controller, model. So with the scaffold commands, you're going to generate db context, scaffold hyphen db context. Now after that, you can just take double quotes and you just specify your connection string, like data source. That's what you're going to specify. The server name. My server name is Asm hyphen PC SQL Express. This is my server name. Now after that, the initial catalog, which I'm going to take it here. The initial catalog is basically the database which I'm going to use it. So that database which I'm going to use is employee. This is my database which is there in my SQL Server. And I have last, which I'm going to write here is integrated security true, because I want to log in through Windows authentication. If you are having user ID and password, you can write their user and password also. If you are logged in with SQL Server authentication, now you just say like true. Then after specifying this, you just need to provide the provider name. So the provider name is Microsoft dot entity framework core dot SQL server. Okay. So this is our entity framework core dot SQL server is our provider. And we are going to specify high space output directory, where basically we want to hyphen output directory. We are going to specify where we want our model classes to be and context classes to be generated. This command, what we are using here, is basically going to help us to generate our context class and model class from existing database. Okay. So that's why we're using this command, and just press enter. Okay. Now the build is started and it's going to generate for us model class and context classes. So what is the job of database first approach? Our job of database first approach is to see the existing database and table and generate the model class and context class. So this command is doing the same job. Scaffold hyphen db context, and with that is going to generate the context class for me, and with the connection string it's just going to pick up the employee database, and then it's going to generate all the classes in the model folder. Okay. So build is started and even it is executed too. So it's going to generate all your model classes and context class inside this particular folder. Now, if you see this, previously model folder was empty. Now you got a lot of classes because in that database, all these tables are there. And even you will find one context class also, which you will find there. So where is that context class? The context class is basically here, employee context, right? So this is employee context, which is inherited by the DB context. And you are using EntityFramworkCore. Inside that, the DB context class is present. And here, this is the constructor. And this constructor is having a context option. So this option, we will use this employee context options to specify the connection string for this. And we have all the tables, right? All the tables are there. Now, till here we have done, right? Now, we need to go to our app setting.json. This is a file where we need to go. Inside that app setting.json, we need to specify the connection string. Okay, that's what you need to do it. So you can say here that you're looking for connection string, and you just specify colon here and just say like SQL con, and here you just say like data. So same thing, I'm just going to write it once again. That is data source asm -pc SQL express. Okay, so take it double, and then initial catalog, that is I'm going to specify as employee, and integrated security equal to true. So these are the connection string which you need to specify in your app setting file. Now these connection string, we are going to use it to connect with the employee context. So obviously employee context also will connect to the SQL server, and to connect to the SQL server, they need connection string. So connection string globally we define in our app setting.json, and now we will make an arrangement that this connection string we should read from here and assign or initialize to the context class. For doing all the things, you need to use startup class. If you go for like MVC Core 6, you will not find this startup class. Instead of it, in your program.cs class only, they are defined, you can define there. Okay, it's very easy there. So now here you're going to say like service says dot. Here you can specify add db context. So now we are telling that the DB context which we are using it, that is employee context which we are using it. And these employee context which we are using it, it's basically going to help us. Okay, this employee context is going to help us to assign the connection string to this particular employee context. Okay, this add db context is going to help us to assign to this context class the connection string. So how we are going, this add db context will provide us one options, db context options. So if you see this db context option builder, db context option, so these options such that options dot use SQL server, like that you need to specify it. And then you just need to say okay, this is, you need to do it. Now SQL con, you should write it here. SQL con. Now you tell me like why I'm writing SQL con. Because I'm saying that in my app setting.json, I have one file called, I have a connection string. That connection string name is SQL con. So that SQL con will give me the connection string. That is everything, whichever I have it. That is this all this connection string to it. Now, if you see this use SQL server is not present, so I need to add a reference Microsoft.EntityFramworkCore. You need to add this. Then only you will get use SQL server. Otherwise not. Now after that also, you need to add one more thing here. If you want to read anything from app.setting.json, like SQL's con you need to read, right? Connection string you want to read, right? So what you need to do is, if you say use SQL Server, it will not read anything from the app.setting.json file. For reading anything from the app.setting.json file, you need to use configuration dot get connection string. Like this, you need to specify it. Okay. So when you specify like this, then it will read the connection string from there. Okay. Now again, we are just going to specify services dot add scope. Now, as we're using dependency injection concept, so we are going to use some interfaces here and class. So for this particular interface, this object, I'm going to pass it like that. I'm going to mention here. But as of now, not, because I have not created any interfaces or any class. I didn't define it. So let me do that job first. Okay. So for that purpose, I will create one folder that I will try to create it. One simple folder called as new folder with the name of repository. That's what I'm going to write here. Okay. Now after this, right click. I just say like add, and let me go for a new item. Okay. One interface I will add it. So that particular interface which I'm going to use here is this. And here, let me say like I employ repository. Okay. That's what interface you need to define it. So in this interface, first of all, try to make this interface as a public. Now, after that, you just need to specify here one list of employee detail. So this is a data, like table data, which I want to return it, list of employee detail. So that model references I have taken here, and I just say like get employee data. Okay, get employee details. So this is the name of a method. I'm just writing it. Our main intention is that in my database, one table is an employee detail table. For that, this is a model class. So there I want to retrieve some information like employee ID, employee name, employee salary. Like that, I want to retrieve it. Okay. So for retrieving purpose, what I have done is I just taken this list of employee detail, and from this method, I'm just trying to return that. Okay. Now, what is the next job you need to do it? Your interface is ready. Now this interface, you need to implement it in some class. Now you just go to your repository, just go to the simple class there, and you just mention there employee repository. Okay, employee repository. Okay, that's what you can mention it. Now then you can go for I employee repository. That's what you can write it here. Okay. Now just say implement interface. Now after this, list of employee detail here, right? Now just say like Control X, and then you just say here, okay, what you need to do it? You just need to write a particular code here to get the data from the database. So obviously, every time in our previous recording also we have seen, right, context class always give the data for us. Context class will generate automatically some query at the back end and try to connect with the database and get the data for us. So context class help us to give all the data, right? These are nothing but tables. If we call these tables, we will get all the data, right? So this repository class want that data. So what we are going to do is, we are not going to create an object of this employee context. Instead of it, what we'll do is here we will just say employee context, and we just say like employee context, like this one variable, you just define it here. Okay. And after that, take this variable, copy this, and you just say here return, and you just say like dot employee. So you want to get employee details. This is my table. So this table data, I want to get it. This table data, I want to get it, and I will convert this one into the to list, and I will get it. Okay, simple, very simple, very simple. Now your repository is done, right? Now, but how this variable will give me the data? I am not initializing anything to it, right? So for that purpose, you just need to take constructor like this. So this constructor will, or let me take till here. Okay, we'll initialize this global variable, the value. So this is my local variable. So with the help of dependency injection concept, we will try to communicate, or we will try to give from outside of the class of this repository. We are going to pass to this particular class constructor the dependency object. Now this dependency object will get employee context object, so that we will assign to our global variable. So this is how it's going to happen, like this. Again, simple, right? Now it will give the employee context object to it, and then with the help of employee context, we will bring the data, right? Now the next job is, we want to access this method. We want to call this method through controller. So to call this particular method, which is basically present in this particular employee repository class, right? This method is there in this employee repository class. So in our MVC core, we don't create an object of classes. Instead of it, we use the help of interfaces and try to call this methods. So why we do so, and what are the reason behind that? Simple method, because we want to make our application loosely coupled, and interfaces basically help us to make our application as a loosely coupled for that reason. Okay, so what we will do is, we'll choose this iEmployee repository, and we'll go to our controller. First we'll go to the controller here. So this is my controller, which is still now nothing. I have it. I have a home controller here, and in this home controller, I will just do some copy paste, and copy paste, control X, and from here to here, I can just say like this, and control, yeah, I can just say like this, right? And of course, under EMP or employee repository, I can write it like this. Okay. Now global variable you defined. So it's mean that from outside of the class to this employee repository also, you're going to pass your employee repository class object, right? So just right here like this. Employee repository, I will take it here also. Okay. Now, okay. Now after doing this, you can just say copy and just say like this, underscore employee repository dot get employee details. Now you can access it. And that's it. You just need to create a view page. Right click, go for add view. So there is a view. You can just override that old view here and just return one list template, one model. You can take it, that is employee detail, and you just say like add, just say like yes, Okay, let me try once again this one. So before doing all these things, I just need to build my application first. Yeah, everything done. So right click and just say like add view. Just take a razor view. Just try once again list. And again, you can just choose employee detail. Go for add. So now scaffolding trying to generate a template for us. Okay. So while doing this, it will even try to install one package. So let's wait for a while. The view page is created successfully for us. Okay. And now just run this and let's see the output for this. Okay, we got some error here. What is that error? See, I told you, right, we will get one error here. I just commented the code in startup class. That error is invalid operation exception unable to resolve service of type database first approach core repository, right? So the thing is, I have just defined in my particular home controller this particular local variable, right? But this local variable, when it get value, then only it will initialize to the global variable that value, right? So for that purpose, you need to go to the startup class, and in that startup class, you just need to uncomment this, and here you just say like I employee repository. So just say like control dot. So it will add that particular folder path to my this class, and then we'll have this class which is going to be assigned to it. So employee repository class like this. Okay. Now this is what you need to do it, which we forgot before. Okay. So what we are saying, like services dot add scope. So we are saying that we want for this particular employee repository, this particular class we are going to take it. Okay. Either you can take add scope or either you can take your particular transient, like that you can take it. Okay. But here you just need to mention services dot add scope. Okay. I employ repository, which you need to say it first. For this particular repository, this is the class which you're going to take it. Now, if you go and check it, like your employee repository, see, this is generating for this, right? And here we just mentioned here, like for this particular repository scoped, we are taking this. Okay. Now we will build once again. Mm, sorry, I have to take like this, not like this. This is how I need to take it. Okay. So if I take like this, it will work for me. And here at the end of it, you need to write like this. Okay. So it's working fine for us, right? Now we can just save this. And again, we'll try to execute this. Okay, here we have done some spelling mistake also, security. So we will go to our app setting.json, and here we'll write integrated security. RITY. So save this and just come once again to this place. Now you can see this, all this data, we are able to see it here. Okay. So I hope guys, you have understood this, whatever we have done here, right? So we just have taken like simply these three packages: Entity Framework Core, Entity Framework Core.SQL Server, Entity Framework Core.Tools. So these three things we need to take it. Okay. And then this is automatically generated when we added a view, this package. And then after that, we just gone to our tools. We have gone there like NuGet package manager console. And I have wrote it this command: scaffold -db context data source, initial catalog, integrated security. The provider is Entity Framework Core.SQL Server. Output directory is model. So all these things I wrote it. Then later we just gone to like creation of this employee repository class and this employee repository. So one method I just done, that is list of employee details. Then I have added the code for this in this employee repository class, and I'm just using this context as a local variable. I'm passing from outside of the class to this context one object. So I'm initializing this to global variable, and global variable helping me to get the data. Then after that, I'm just going to this controller class. And in this controller class, I want to access this get employee detail method, but it is there in my repository class. So instead of creating an object, I'm just using interface. So this interface global variable, and this is my local variable. So local variable, we will pass from outside of the class. That is from startup class, we are going to say that for this employee repository, this is the for our employee repository, this is employee repository class, you need to take it. So that's why in your home controller, here you're going to get employee repository class object, and that employee repository class object is going to be passed to this global variable, and global variable will going to call get employee details method. Get employee method is going to call employee details, and employee details is going to be coming from our context class, and then you're going to get all the data. Okay. So that's what our intention is. Okay. So I hope guys you have understood this thing, right? Similar to it, you can perform like insert, update, delete operation also. So how in our ASP.NET Core we perform the operation by using database approach, we have learned here. So please don't forget to like subscribe and like and share. So we'll meet in next video guys. Thank you.